Hello and welcome, dear viewers and listeners. Today we delve into the fascinating story of an iconic vehicle born from a unique blend of British engineering and Japanese innovation. But before we dive into the details, allow me a brief reminder: often behind the most renowned automobiles lies a story full of surprises and unexpected twists. In the world of automotive development, there are seldom black and white scenarios. It's a complex interplay of inspiration, creativity, and strategic decisions that ultimately paved the way for groundbreaking vehicles. And it's precisely here that we begin our journey today as we explore the origin story of a very special car. Let's dive into the world of the AZ-550 AZ-1, a vehicle that has not only captured the hearts of automotive enthusiasts, but also carved out a unique place in automotive history. But before we delve into the details, let's take a peek behind the scenes where British expertise meets Japanese vision. So buckle up and join me on this fascinating journey through the genesis of the AZ-550 AZ-1, because as often in life, it's the journey itself that tells us the most exciting stories. There are some misconceptions of how this was a development of Suzuki that was taken up by Mazda after they abandoned it in favor of their own cappuccino, or that Mazda was copying something Suzuki was making from their RSX concepts. The Mazda concept team already made a 1.5 clay model and started working on the one model of it before Suzuki's RS1 concept was displayed, and Mazda had a running Daihatsu-powered concept before the RS3. Those cars are quite a lot larger than the AZ-1. It's more likely that the AZ-1 designer took inspiration from the Toyota MR2, since that was the first MR Japanese sports car. It came out around that time, and it was commercially successful. Suzuki didn't know about the project until 1988, when the Mazda team switched to Suzuki for the engine supplier. Meanwhile, Mazda didn't know about the cappuccino until they saw it displayed at the same 1989 Toyota Motor Show the AZ-1 was introduced at as the AZ-550. Now, with all that being said about the concept and prototyping with clay models and whatnot, most of the development and engineering was actually done by an English company named Hoddle Whiting in Basildon, Essex, UK. Many units were produced at Hoddle Whiting to test and fine-tune the vehicle's characteristics. This car has an interesting birth history because it is British engineered with Japanese parts meant only for the Japanese market. The AZ-550 sports concept was introduced at the 1989 Tokyo Motor Show as three different models known as the Type A, B and C shown below. The Type A was a typical sports car with pop-up headlights. The design was very Ferrari Testarossa-esque, amongst a few other cars with the wedge-shaped vehicle and the style of side vents. You can look at this and easily see many design cues from a handful of super exotic cars of the day. The Type A's most notable feature are the gull-wing doors we know today on the AZ-1. Overall, though, it looks pretty normal as a sporty little car. Type B, the high-tuned pure sports car, was modeled after the car design trends of the period. The cabin is looked short in length and tight, rising up to provide the driver and passenger with headroom. It seemed like Mazda was going for a pure bare-bones racing-style interior. This was the only model that did not have gull-wing doors and sported a standard front hinge swing door like most other cars. This model had a dual-tip exhaust muffler. The headlights were notably more bulbous and the rear lights are much larger than the other two. Lastly, the Type C's distinctive race car body was inspired by Mazda's 24 Hours of Le Mans Group C Sports prototype sports cars Mazda 787 billion. This concept incorporated the color scheme of blue on white, with number 201, like the 1991 Mazda 787 billion 201 car, as a tribute. This concept model sports larger intakes, had fender-mounted mirrors, and had small wing already attached for additional downforce. This being more race car inspired was even more Spartan in terms of creature comforts when compared to the Type B. The Type C also had a different type of door that would be called butterfly doors, which opened diagonally up and forward. This prototype also had BBS-style turbofan wheel covers for additional brake cooling. After the unveiling of these prototypes at the 1989 Tokyo Auto Show, Mazda executives decided to press forward with production of the car, seeing it was well received by the attending public and automotive press. Although Type C was the best received of the three, the executives making an executive decision usually does not always choose the most popular option available. After all, the decisions are still business decisions, and those types of decisions require considering what would be best for mass market for best sales. They chose Type A as they believed it was the most commercially accepted version by the public. Type A was essentially ready to go to production. As is, some details were changed to interior and exterior, most notably changing the pop-up headlights to fixed lights. The car's development work was carried out by Hoddle Whiting in the United Kingdom. The initial monocoque frame was originally made of aluminum, and they decided to switch to steel for production. From the decision point of choosing Type A, it took 3 years to get the car into production. After many directors being cycled through the project, Toshihiko Harai, the head of Mazda's Roadster program, was appointed as the new head of the Arizona 550 AZ-1 project. He was the third and final project leader. His success at overseeing the entire development, production, and sale of what is now known as the beloved Miata made him the man to try to put the AZ-1 out to market. With the project under Toshihiko Harai, his first actions were to modify the car's current existence. He had the design team drop the pop-up headlights on his first day. There were discussions of making this vehicle a two-seater 2-2. The Kijidosha Kai car regulations had changed since the start of development to allow for an additional 10 centimeters in length and 110 cc of displacement. 1990, the engineers and designers presumably wanted to take advantage of this. The prototype was called the Arizona 550 due to existing key car regulations of the time. During the development here, they were working under the conditions of the existing Kijidosha K car regulations of Jan 1, 1976, which states that a vehicle can have a maximum length of 3.2 m, maximum width of 1.4 m, and maximum engine displacement of 550 cc. Hence the 550 in the name Arizona 550. However, by the time the car became ready for production in 1992, the Japanese government has since modified the law that states the vehicle can have a maximum length of 3.3 m, maximum width of 1.4 m, and maximum displacement of 660 cc. Mazda would then up the available displacement to 660 cc to meet regulations. The Suzuki F6 motor was chosen and sourced for this task after Suzuki had bored out their F5 billion from 547cc to create the F6 A6 657cc due to the change in regulation allowing up to 660c. Mazda did not build the Arizona 1 themselves either. They had a company named Kurata Co. Ltd., now known as Kilex, also based in Hiroshima, contracted to produce this vehicle. Kurata was capable of producing these at a rate of 1,000 vehicles per month at standard hours, but unfortunately never used nor needed it. Production started and the first Arizona 1 rolled off the line on August 8, 1992. The Arizona 1's birthday is October 5th because that was when the first Arizona 1s were delivered. Kurata went on to produce 4,409 cars. President of Kurata interview, Autozam Arizona 1 and Suzuki Kara combined for Mazda. When production ended about a year later in June 1993, roughly half the cars produced were still sitting at dealer lots unsold. This car was late to the party and Japan's bubble economy has burst. Under these conditions, it did not sell very well and Mazda got to work trying to push the remaining vehicles out for sale with special edition models that were no more than aesthetic body kit changes. The M2 Incorporated made special panels for their model, the M2 1015. Mazda also put out Mazda Speed cars with new upgrades to entice more buyers. The Mazda Speed parts were dealer-installed options. M2 made parts to make a small batch of their genuine M2 1015s, however, eventually the parts were simply sold as parts without the car, and anybody could have bought the parts to convert their Arizona 1 to a M2 1015 car. None of them had any special VIN numbers to correlate with, which was the only way to tell is actually knowing what year each particular option was available, so only obviously if it came on an earlier car none of it was correct. The Suzuki Kara was launched January 27, 1993, shortly after the Autozam Arizona 1 and September 24, 1992. Eventually, all the cars were sold by 1995 as no more sales data show any Arizona 1 or Cora in 1996.